Hey guys, it's Mr. Kennedy back with another video on plants. We're going to talk about the seed plants, specifically Angiosperms and Gymnosperms. Now, when we look at the first seed plants, they were Gymnosperms, which are conifers. And anytime you see conifer, it means it has cones as its reproductive organ. They are vascular, which means they have xylem and phloem. They're heterospory, which means they have male and female gametes or gametophytes. Their seeds were naked, that means they have no fruits. Their pollen is contained in the male gametophyte, and the life cycle is dominated by a sporophyte stage. Coniferous trees you're familiar with are diploid, so it makes sense to us. All right, but they do still reproduce with gametophytes, microscopic gametophytes. Now, early gymnosperms, you'll hear about a ginkgo tree. A ginkgo tree, this is an example. You might have seen one before somewhere around your neighborhood. The next one will be a cicada or cicades. These are the oldest, some of the oldest ones, and this is what it looks like, kind of like a fern with a stalk to it, I guess. All right, and then the most common gymnosperms we have today are the conifers, the pine tree, the spruce, etc. Now, the reason it says naked seed, you can see here is a seed from a gymnosperm. It's not protected in any way. It's not inside of a fruit or a flower. Now, there are male and female gametophytes. Now, if you look, something you might not know, this is what I would call a male pine cone. It has pollen associated with it, right? And then this is the female here, which we most common would recognize. So there are both there, male and female. Now, pollen eliminated the requirement of water. So that was another step to life on land of plants, because pollen flowed through the air and you didn't need water, and it could be spread by animals or by wind. Next came the first flowering plants, which are your angiosperms. Angiosperms are vascular, they're heterospory, they have flowers, which are specialized structures for sexual reproduction. Their seeds were within fruit, so they weren't naked, they were covered up. They did reproduce by the use of pollen, and their life cycle was dominated again by the sporophyte stage. Which trees and bushes that we're familiar with are sporophytes. That makes sense. But they still have microscopic gametophyte stages. Now, angiosperms are your flowering plants, and these are just some examples. Oak tree, flowers like we'd see, a mimosa. Things that you would think of being flowering. Now, an angiosperm's life cycle is down here. You have a male gametophyte, which is your pollen, right? And it will land on top of a female pistil here, and here's where the ovary is, and the sperm will actually grow down to the egg or the ovum, and there's where reproduction will occur. It will create a zygote, and the zygote will create eventually a sporophyte will be made inside the seed. All right, now when you talk about the flower, there's certain parts that we need to make sure we know what they are. There are the sepals. The sepals are these little green leaves down here. I like to think of them like on a strawberry. If you were to pick up a strawberry and eat the strawberry, the little green leaves are sepals. Or on a rose, the little green leaves underneath the petals are sepals, and then you've got leaves all down the stem itself. The petals are the pretty part of the flower, right? Red, yellow, white, whatever they are. The stamen, really easy to know, stamen is the male part of the flower, and your stamen is made up of anther and filament. Here it is here. Okay? Then your carpel, or sometimes called the pistil, is the female part of the flower, and it kind of looks like a bowling pin right here in the middle. All right? Now, the flowers vary in all sizes, shapes, colors, and different things like that. Realize that a lot of flowers and pollinators co-evolve. Like if a flower is long and thin, like up here in the right-hand corner, like this one, it's probably co-evolved with hummingbirds because it fits almost like a hand in a glove. Down here, this flower, look at how the anthers come up and they put pollen right on the back of the bee. That is specialized so that the bee is going to be the pollinator. Now, just as a side note, how bees see a flower, this is what a bee sees, so you can tell why flowers are colored the way they are. The UV light gives kind of a bullseye effect. To us, it would be all one color, maybe a just different shade. To the bee, it tells it exactly where to go to get that nectar. Now, when you talk about fruiting plants, we rely on those to live off of. So angiosperms are near and dear to my heart for sure. But there's other fruits as well. You have your acorns, you have your coconuts, you have seeds, you have beans. So don't just think of when I say fruit as what I mentioned on the previous page. Now, the seed and plant embryo, the seed offers protection to the embryo, which I said. It also offers a storehouse. Now, the seed, whenever the plant first emerges from the seed, it has what we call cotyledon. Cotyledon are its seed leaves. And depending on how many of these it has, depends on what classification the seed is. It can either be a monocot or a dicot. Now, an example is over here on the right. This seed leaf is only one seed leaf. This is an example of a monocot. This one has two seed leaves. This is an example of a dicot. So a dicot has two cotyledons, and that would be like your beans most oftentimes. Your monocot is going to have one single one, and that's like your corns or your grasses are your monocot. So there's two classifications of angiosperms, of these seed leaves. All right, and this is kind of a summary of the entire thing here. Your monocot, your dicots, what they look like, their striations. Actually, if you take the leaf of a monocot, it will have parallel veins. They run in lines, like down here in the left-hand corner. A dicot is going to have a network of veins, either branching of some sort. It's going to have a network, as you can see on the upper right-hand side. And it also differs a little bit, monocots and dicots do, in the way their vascular bundles are arranged. A dicot is arranged in a ring. A monocot is arranged throughout the bundle itself. All right, I hope this explains a little bit on seed plants and angiosperms and gymnosperms to you, and I hope you guys have a great day.